It is 7 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, October 1st, 2023. And I've just moved the cows to the 6th cell out of 7 of the 5th section out of 6. And so we just got 8 cells left. Tomorrow morning I'm going to move them to the last cell. Look at that grass. that's up to my knees. The grass is up to my knees here. Anyway, tomorrow morning I move them to the last section, and tomorrow evening I move them, or last cell, and then tomorrow evening I move them to the first cell of the last section. Thinking of probably just grazing them from the south to the north, because there's water all along the edge there. But I may change plans. I might decide just to bring them to the beginning, like I did for this section. Anyway, right now it's about 86 degrees, 34% humidity. Today was 92 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be 90 degrees, 92 or something. The day after that it's going to be 92 degrees. That'd be Tuesday. And then Wednesday we expect an inch of rain. Thursday we expect another inch of rain. Friday we're going to get a break from the rain. And Saturday we're going to get probably a quarter inch of rain. So if all goes well, I'll be complaining about all the rain. It's a good time to get rain right after this section, because this section is my poorest performing section. Some of the parts of the field, I call it Arizona, but even the better parts are not that good. Anyway, yeah, it's good to get rain right after you leave a section. I think that section will do better. Just guessing. I don't know for sure. Personal finances. Money, right? Rule number 1, you don't need money to survive. You need food, you need shelter, you need clothing. Right? And it's kind of not important how you get those things. The idea is that you make more food, clothing, and shelter than you need, and so you're never short of those things. Right? The more you learn to do on your own, the more you rely on yourself, the better off you'll be. If you have to go to McDonald's to get food, and you don't know how to make your own food from raw ingredients, then you'll be wondering why you never have money. If you're going to the grocery store and buying prepared foods rather than raw foods, you'll be wondering why your grocery budget is going through the roof. It takes discipline and a little effort, but it's really not that hard to learn the skills to provide for yourself. Your clothing as well. You have a choice. You can spend a lot of money on clothing, you can spend barely nothing on clothing. As for me, I like to buy not the cheapest clothing around, but I like to buy cheap clothing. Clothing that lasts, right? I bought a suit. I think I spent like $800 on that suit. And that suit lasted me 10 years. So how much did I spend per year on that suit? Right? I could have bought a cheap suit every year, but then I'd be wearing a cheap suit rather than a custom fit suit. You see the point? If you're careful and you look for ways to stretch your dollar, you're going to find that typically the things that you do to stretch your dollar also elevate your standard of living. Let me give you another example. How much would it cost you to go to a restaurant and order a beautiful steak, prepared exactly the way you like it, smothered in a fancy French sauce, right? We're probably talking hundreds of dollars, right? But the truth about French cooking, it's easy. It's very easy, in fact. There's just a couple techniques you need to learn. And from the most basic ingredients, you can create the most amazing meals. My example of the steak, you can buy a cheap cut of steak. You can, or in my case, like I estimate it costs me about $5 or $6 a pound for the meat that I get from my pasture. Now that I'm growing my own cows, if I harvest one of the bull that I don't want, let's see if we can find him. I think he's over there. If I harvest that bull that I don't want, then I would have paid $0.00. Well, maybe a little in feed, I guess, for the meat, right? Just labor. And salt, pepper, cream, butter, maybe a little tarragon, maybe a little vinegar. You can use the distilled vinegar, the cheap stuff. Or you can use white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar or something like that. Right? This is not the bull, by the way. This is the cow, the heifer. Hopefully she'll be a cow soon. Where'd the bull go? There's the fence popping. I'm going to go find that while I talk. So there's all sorts of ways to save money, and it'll entertain you at the same time. Let's see, where's the wire? There it is. Clothing, food. So you buy good clothing. You don't spend too much on it, obviously, but you take care of it. You learn how to wash it properly. You obviously don't have a closet full of clothing you never wear. You know. Shelter, same thing. I think a lot of people, if you're renting, that's money you're just flushing down the toilet every month for the privilege to live there, which, you know, depending on your situation, might be the best alternative. But if you're able to get a house, a cheap house, not an expensive one, and you maintain that house for yourself, then the only expense is property taxes, which is way lower than rent. It always is. It's always going to be. Obviously, you have to balance borrowing money versus using your own money. And maybe you're not at a point in your life where you can tie up your assets in real estate. But that's the number one way that Americans build wealth, is they own their own house. And that house increases in value over the lifetime. Sure, it's not a lot of money, but that's money they can't spend. Ah! I tripped on the wire a little bit. It's not popping anymore. It's probably a grasshopper that fell off. Food, clothing, shelter. Those are your basic needs. Entertainment isn't really a need. You can entertain yourself with a rock and a stick. Much cheaper ways to entertain yourself than buying cable TV or computer video games or whatnot. The big deal, the big point is not saving money. The big point is accumulating wealth. And what I mean by wealth is not dollars and cents. Money, I guess, can be a sign of wealth if that's what you really want. You really like the shape of money and the way it feels. But the problem with money is the prices of things keep changing. And if you set a goal early in life to save up so much money, and then you get to a point in your life, there we go, where you actually have that money, then yeah, poor grasshopper. He's gone. Sometimes there's a wire though, like an old barbed wire or something like that. Anyway, accumulating those things that you want is wealth. That's true wealth. Not having a bunch of pieces of paper. But how do you accumulate stuff that you want? Well, you obtain the things you want in exchange for the things you don't want. Right? Your time is a resource. Your energy is a resource. your life essence, your lifespan is a resource. If you don't want your life, then trade it for something you do want. For instance, I'd rather have family, right? That's what I'd rather have than being alive for a long time. Living alive without your family, oh my goodness. That'd be pure hell. So anyway, that's something to think about. Budgeting. Budgeting is the process whereby you take into account what you have, what you expect to get, and what you're going to use. And you have to make sure you're not using stuff you don't have. And write a budget, keep a budget. In that budget, you should set some things aside for yourself, right? You can't work 40 hours a week. I'm sorry, you can't work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Schedule some time for yourself, right? If you're getting money from a paycheck, set aside some of that money for yourself. Save it. Emergency fund. It's another principle. Build up that emergency fund. 3 months where you're not making any money. You should be able to handle your expenses for 3 months. That emergency fund gives you confidence. It gives you time. It gives you the chance to think through emergencies. Too often people who don't have an emergency fund, they run out and make really bad decisions when they should have just taken a few more minutes and thought about their situation. I'm just basically repeating what that guy on the radio, Dave something, I forget his last name. Budget, emergency fund. You have more than you think. So start taking inventory of what you have and start using it. If that means getting a better job, get a better job. If that means quitting your job to do something that's more worthwhile than with your time and money and resources, then do that. Pay off your debt. You shouldn't have debt. The only kind of debt that makes any sense at all is when you borrow to obtain something that you want to use for a while. Okay. The risk is, though, you're not able to make payments on that loan. For instance, you borrow money to buy a house, and then you have to pay whatever $1,000 a month for the privilege of keeping that house. And the risk is, if you don't make the payments, then the bank will sell your house for you at a low price. They'll take the money, and you won't get anything left. Right? So loans are dangerous. Unsecured loans like credit card debt are a terrible idea. You should not be borrowing money to buy things you don't need. You should not be borrowing money to buy things you do need. If you can't afford it, figure another way out. Pay off those debts. Get out of debt. Stop borrowing money. Pay off the debt. Accumulate wealth. When you start realizing that you have more than you know what to do with, then you save for the future. And the way to do that is not like, oh, I'm going to retire at 65. No. That might have worked for my parents' generation. My mom died when she was 65. So whatever retirement she saved up didn't go to her. No, you set goals. I would like to obtain X. I would like to obtain Y. And you save for those goals. You delay the gratification and you incrementally build up to it. And then when you've acquired those resources to obtain that thing that you wanted, you obtain it. Go get it. It's yours. Enjoy it. Right? If you want to buy a fancy boat to go fishing on a lake, save up your money for that. If you want to buy a nice car, save up your money for that. You know? Investing. Investing isn't mysterious. It really isn't. I know people like to confuse people about this, and there's a lot of scams out there. The idea of investing is to save your money, your stuff, and acquire things that will generate wealth for you. okay? And the obvious example is buying an apartment, renting out the apartments, you know. That's a very common thing. It's a very successful thing. It works. Owning a business, investing in a business. Businesses are nice because they give you more than just revenue. It opens up a world of possibilities. Like my little food truck, I can eat the best Korean food in the entire world anytime I want for free. Practically free. It's not completely free, but it's much cheaper than it would be if I bought it. Other mechanisms that you want to invest in. I don't encourage people to invest in the stock market or money market funds, or especially not cryptocurrency. Those things are fixed. They're fixed not in the way that is not broken, but fixed in the way that you can't win. You might win for a while, but eventually they're going to pull the carpet out from under you, and they're going to laugh at you when they do it, right? The stock market is a method where rich people transfer money from poor people trying to get rich. So I don't recommend trusting that the stock market will be there forever. I do not recommend buying metals like gold and silver and stuff like that. Those things don't grow. Your gold doesn't make gold babies, right? The value of gold and silver is fixed, and it's really nice to have those things just in case you're worried the money's going to go south. But those aren't investments. They're not growing, they're not building, they're not accumulating. Here's a good example of an investment. Learn a new skill, right? Learn a valuable new skill, right? That's like investing in yourself, right? That new skill you can use to make more money or to enjoy life more, right? Things like that. So think outside the box. Don't think of like investing and you got to go to Charles Schwab, you know, or something like that. Investing, then you're making more money than you know what to do with, or making more wealth than you know what to do with. You bought everything you want. You'd be surprised how quickly, especially when you're writing budgets and you're living frugally, and then you realize that anything you desire, you've already obtained. There's really nothing left that you really want. That arrives much more quickly than I think you know. I was looking at my account. I'm like, you know, I could buy a $300,000 car and it wouldn't change anything, right? Because Apple stock was growing so fast at the time, right? And then, you know, I legitimately said, I don't want a $300,000 car. It would be nice for about a few days, but, you know, maybe I'll rent a car, you know. Maybe I'll go buy that training to learn how to race. You know, that'll be fun for a while, but I don't want to own it, you know. Airplane lessons were something that I thought I wanted to do. Now I don't want to do it, you know. It's just I've kind of lost all ambition to obtain material things. Those things kind of, they don't matter to me. They're not important. Now, owning a cattle farm and having cattle, this is a very rewarding and successful thing. And one of the things that I'm aiming for, that I want to do one day, is like own 1,000 acres or get access to 1,000 acres, lease or whatever, and run 1,000 head of cows. I think that would be pretty fun. That'd be very interesting to surely keep me busy, you know. But that's the kind of stuff that interests me anymore. That's my ambition. Well, once you've accumulated everything that you pretty much want, once you realize that life is ephemeral and you can't really satiate those desires, the desire to consume. Once you realize that, you know, life isn't about pleasure, you have to use your wealth to bless the lives of others. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's not just a matter of giving people money, you know. That's not how you obtained your wealth, right? Somebody didn't come by and say, like, here's $1 million. No, you had to work for it, right? And that's the most, what is it, in the Ecclesiastes, the goal in life on earth, the only thing that really matters is growing your own food and eating it. That's it. That's the only pleasure there really is in life, you know. I can't wait to dig into a steak from one of these animals, you know, knowing that I did it, you know, it's mine. Well, as much as anyone can do it, you know, obviously the grass and the rain and the sunshine and everything. Anyway, finances. You think sometimes as a youth, as a young person, that you can get by in life not mastering certain skills, that you'll just trust somebody else to do it for you. And unfortunately, it just simply isn't so. You're going to have to learn certain skills. Everybody has to know. One of those skills is finances. So if you're older, teach your kids. If you're younger, learn it. Don't expect somebody else to do it for you. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.